I think, when you look at it, I'm not just going to start with the defense. I don't think any of us coached or played well enough. We knew we'd have to come in and own the line of scrimmage. I think it started up front. You got to give Denver a lot of credit. I think they moved us around pretty good, had some big explosive runs, and that's hard. But, I told the guys, I said, look, it's one game. We did not play well. We did not coach well. We're going to get right back to work tonight. And if you let it bleed over into 2 and 3 games, then that means you're not a competitor, because this happens in this league.
You got 3 points in that first possession. You look back and say, maybe you should have had 7. In your second possession, you had some penalties there.
Yeah, definitely. A chance for sudden change. We get the turnover right away. We're down there on the half-yard line. I didn't see the penalty. But, the discipline, has to be better. I felt like there was 4 or 5 pre-snap penalties in the first half that definitely hurt us. You come into a tough place to play like this, you have to do a great job of having the discipline, and you got to score touchdowns in the red zone because there's big momentum gains that happens when you do that. So, unfortunately, we did not do that. I thought the guys fought. I thought they battled. But at the end of the day, we did not coach or play well enough today to beat a good football team.
Cowboys. You talked about Dak's play. Thought a key turning point was certainly at the end of the half when he took a chance down the middle. Then we had a field goal in his back pocket. Was he pressing, or because you had to score touchdowns, not self-fulfilled?
I don't think so. I think we all felt it. Clarence. It was one of those deals where it was hard to get into a rhythm a little bit. They played us 2-man, and he had a chance to go down the middle on Fergie, and it was, I think, the rookie Barron kind of looked back and got it. But I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, Dak's done a great job of trying to just say each play is its own, and I don't think that. I think that but we have to win the takeover battle. We didn't do that. We've been doing that really, really well, and so you have the one right before the half, then you have the other one right down there late when we're fighting our butts off, try to get back in it, and that's not who we are. But no, I don't think that it had him pressing or anything like that.
You get a game like this and know you have to match touchdown for touchdown score, because the way your defense is certainly playing early, you have to score with them.
Yeah, we feel like we can play, with anybody, no matter how the game goes. We really do. And again, unfortunately, today we did not capitalize. I really do think the first drive that we had, I think, we need to come away with 7 there. That was disappointing that we didn't. But again, this is a good football team. Talking about us, that did not play very well today. We did not coach very well today. I wasn't very good today. I don't think Flus thinks he was very good today. Clayton doesn't think he was very, very good today. So we'll look at it. We're going to look at it on the plane, and we've got the extra day this week to get ready for Arizona, and that's what we're going to do. That's what good teams do. I told the guys that. I said good teams, they look at it, they look in the mirror. Adversity is a good thing, and no one likes to lose, and it's a humbling league when you come in here and you play a good football team and you kind of get beat the way we did, but get back to work.
3-4-1, and you're saying you're a good football team. How do those 2 things match up?
Yeah, I think, I see us every day, Todd. I do see us every day. I see what we're capable of. Here's the word that's coming back again, consistency. We're not very consistent, and we have to be more consistent, Last week we did a great job stopping the run. Tonight we didn't, and so therein lies a problem. Last couple games, we've been protecting the football, which has given us a chance. Tonight, we didn't. So I think we're a talented football team. I know we have things to get better at and improve on, but I do think we're a good football team. And we played a good football team tonight and didn't play well. And so, again, I'm going to give them credit, and they deserve it.
You mentioned the consistency part of it. How do you break this, 1 win, 1 loss, week-to-week thing? What do you do? What's the answer?
There's no magic pill. You work, you emphasize practice, you emphasize the things that you need to work on and improve. There's going to be quite a few of those things. I think penalties. We've been actually too consistent having penalties over the last couple games. We need to tighten that up. That's a discipline thing that we need to do a better job of as a coaching staff. And but again, we're sitting in this position at 3-4-1. We got 1 more game before the bye, and again, I think that we'll make a lot of progress hopefully this week and bounce back, because if you don't bounce back in this league, then it goes the other way. You know, you want to have streaks of wins, but you also don't want to have streaks of losses. So we'll have a hell of a week of practice, and we'll clean up the things we got to clean up.
John Machota with The Athletic. How do you keep the team positive after a game like this where it could be pretty demoralizing, especially for defense?
Yeah, be honest. You know, be honest. I mean, what I said to him, you know, John, I said, look, I said, if anybody feels like you coached or played well today, okay, raise your hand. And there was not a single hand that went up. I said, okay, I agree with that. I said, you know, we have to learn from it. We have to fix it, you know. Got beat up a little bit today, and there was a bunch of moving parts, and we were throwing guys in there on defense a little bit late, and they were attacking a few guys. And but again, the biggest thing you do is you be honest. I'm never going to lie to these guys. I'm not. I mean, that's not who I am as a man. I'm going to always hold myself accountable. I'm always going to look at myself first. And like I said, adversity in this league is not a bad thing. The adversity is bad if it lets you affect you, and if you let it begin to point fingers and, well, what about this and that? Our guys won't do that. It's a tight-knit again, I'm going to go back to the culture. The culture of this team is great. Those guys played hard. You know, proud of Joe Milton. Joe Milton went in there, you know, mop-up duty, played well. Jalen Tolbert, guy that's fighting his ass off for more playing time, makes a great catch. You know, that's who we are as a football team from a culture standpoint, but we have to play better. We have to execute better. We have to coach better. We've got to call better plays. And that's what we'll get started on here in about an hour on the plane.
And then in terms of the pre-snap penalties, just on your guys' first offensive possession, you guys get down there within the 5-yard line. Is that just the crowd noise? Is that, I mean, you're playing one of the best home teams in the NFL. Why do you think that works?
I don't know. We need to look at it. You know, I want to see the play. You know, I want to see the first one. You know, I don't know. I think that it's a loud place. It's a tough environment. You know, they've got a very good home record here. We know that. That's not a surprising deal. But no excuses. You know, we got to look at it and figure it out. But we're better than, what was it, 5? I think it was 5. 5 pre-snap penalties the first half, and very costly penalties in a couple of those areas.
Nicholas Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Keeping to the penalties. Obviously, you know, you had the penalties on offense that caused stalling of some drives, and then on defense, you had penalties that extended drives.
Yeah.
You were able to get chunk plays and at least one major touchdown on that run. But outside of what you've been preaching as far as self-discipline, is there a point that you get to where you look to start policing the penalties with like playing time when you have positions that can afford it definitely?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you know, the pre-snaps are the ones. Penalties happen this league, you know, and, you know, this crew that did our game today, they have a history of calling a lot of penalties. And like I said last week, I was upset about some of the penalties last week. Then I went back and I looked at them, and they were penalties. And, you know, we're off the field on defense on a third down, and we line up offsides. You know, like that's a discipline thing, you know. That's something that needs to be looked at. And, again, when you play on the edge, that's going to happen from a combative standpoint, but not lining up offsides, not false starting on the half-yard line. You can't do that. You have to be more disciplined than that. And, again, everything will be evaluated. I can promise you that. Everything will be evaluated, from the penalties to the calls, you know, that we made, to the players, everything. And that's what we do. And, guys, we do that after we win. You know, it's no different. You know, that's what the process stays the same.
Second drive of the third quarter, it's 4th and 4 after Turp's drop. Did you think about going for it?
We did, yeah. On the opening drive, you know, went right down, got the touchdown, and we thought about it, and that drive was a little bit junky, if I'm being honest with you, and I felt like, okay, let's try to pin it back. We thought maybe momentum could switch a little bit, but it was discussed. We decided to punt it, and, you know, I live with those decisions.
And then with Trayvon going on IR, can you walk us through the decision there?
Yeah, you know, just, you know, after visiting with the medical staff, you know, we just, you know, we felt like the best interest of the team and Trayvon was to get him back healthy. You know, I mean, he missed last game. He was going to miss this game. You know, he's not through phase 1 yet of the concussion protocol. You know, the knee has been problematic throughout the season, and, you know, there's been games that's been like, hey, can he play, can he not? But, you know, he's a really good player, and we just want to get him back and get him healthy and, again, be able to help us finish strong, because we feel like this thing's going to come down to the end of the season, because it's a very competitive league that we're in.
Jerry said after he's got to get himself in shape. Is that related to the knee, where he's not been able to do enough to be in top condition?
Yeah, you're limited. I mean, there's certain things you can't do, when you're limited with that. But yeah, Trayvon's gonna work his ass off to get back. He loves playing the game, and I have no question in my mind that he'll do everything to get back. But part of the deal is, it's not just us, it's him, it's the training staff. And again, there's a lot of players like that right now because I haven't gotten all the injury reports. I'll get that, on the plane or when I get back in the locker room. But we got pretty beat up today.
You signed Clowney, you made a trade for Kenny Clark. You think you need to make another trade to help the defense?
I think at the end of the day, I think we have good enough players. I think we did not play well tonight. I know we didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. That's very, that's very evident from watching. I thought we did a good job in some pass protection things offensively. But again, it comes down to owning the line of scrimmage, and we wanted to establish the run, which we struggled a little bit. They certainly owned the line of scrimmage in the run game against our defense, and same thing from a pass protection standpoint. So. When we talk about keys to victory, those are the things we have to do. We have to execute in those areas, and unfortunately, it was not to the standard that we need it to be.
Does the lack of consistency with your team frustrate you a little bit?
I think it frustrates all of us, because, again, I said it, and, Todd, asked the question, well, why do you think you're a good football team? Well, I think we have talent. We have weapons. We can score against anybody in the league. We've showed people we can play good run defense, and we can do those things. But, yeah, you'd be crazy. I'd be lying to you if I said you don't get frustrated. We're better than that. But we didn't play good today. So you don't get on the plane and not turn on your iPad, and you don't start pointing fingers at everybody else, and you don't say, oh, that's Clayton Adams' fault. No. It starts with me. And the coordinators and the players have to do their part, and we will do that.
Just picking back from that, you say you have good enough players, not so we can make a move, but the numbers on defense are great, points and yards and everything. And maybe you haven't gotten better. It doesn't look like that all the time. And so if it's not the players, then what is it?
Well, again, I think, there's been a lot of moving parts. I mean, we're playing with a lot of different, pieces. Clarence, so all of a sudden you got guys in there, we're shuffling people around and the green dot changes and all that stuff. But, again, we've taken a couple big steps in different weeks about stopping the run and stopping the pass and not giving up big plays. And, obviously on offense we've got a tremendous amount of weapons. Javante's, talented. Dak is who he is. Dak is an incredible player that's going to give us a chance to win. And, it's our job to get the most out of those guys and continue to put them in the right spots to play well and win.
You said that they targeted some of your guys on defense. Maybe it's just too simple. But Schottenheimer was out, and why didn't y'all target that area?
We did. Yeah, we went after 21 a bunch. I think CD and George had 19, targets or something like that. We got a lot of defensive pass interference penalties. But believe me, we went after him. The one guy I say we didn't really get a chance to get after was the nickel 29. That was the one guy. But I do feel like we tried to go after the corners pretty good, and the yardage won't show as much but there were some PI penalties and stuff.
John, can you just explain on the first time you guys get down there, you got it, I think it was 2nd and 3 or whatever, and Pickens is singled up, and it wasn't Patrick Surtain on him. Why did I just throw it up to George Pickens? Coverage, no safety, elbow at the top.
I don't remember this specific play. Did he throw it to CD? Is it the one he threw to CD? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a good. There's progressions. It sounds easy and simple, and I understand that. But it was a certain route combination. Now that I remember the play, there was a route combination that he thought was a better look on the front side, and I'm never going to doubt Dak on that. I mean, he's going to make those decisions, and when you're blessed to have two guys like that, it's easy to second guess and say, well, throw it to the GP. Well, so what are we going to do, take CD out of the offense now? That's not a good idea either. So, the ball is going to get spread around, and they did a good job. Again, I'm going to keep saying, give them credit. They made the plays they had to make, and we did not, and that's what this league does to you.
Last one, Todd. Ferguson didn't have a catch. Did they do a different job defending with boots than other teams have done? Look like that.
They play real wide, Todd. They're a real wide, contained defense. They don't, they line up the wider than the widest. That's how they call it in this defense. Van Joseph's a hell of a coach, and they had a great plan. But yes, they do. They play some of the boots and movements a little bit different than most people. But Fergie's a big part of what we want to do, and sometimes the ball doesn't find those guys.